To talk about today, if it's all right with you, is a little bit more about how can we help each other joyfully age, okay? And I think if there's one thing we're all doing right now, it's what? Aging. And why not celebrate it? I love that sign I always see when I'm speaking somewhere. It says, until further notice, celebrate everything. And that's not bad. And until maybe you have some friends like I do who don't celebrate life too much. I mean, they're so caught up in their problems, their pains, their pressures, and they have pity parties. You ever have pity parties? You know, you sit around feeling sorry for yourself, and I try that, but nobody shows up. You know, and I'm just sitting there. And so, but I have to tell you too. When I think of this, my mind goes back when I used to serve in St. Louis before they asked me to leave. You know, when I left, one gift we got from our former friend John. That's all I'll say about John. But John gave me a mug, and the mug said, "Life is hard, and then you die." And I thought, John, thanks so much for that. I mean, that really perks me up, you know, when I'm having coffee. And life is hard, and then you die. Now, you know, I'm making fun of that in a way, but I think you may know people like that too. It's kind of like, you know, I had a grandma like that. How many of you had grandmas? I had a grandma that, when I think of her, her name was Schultz, so I mean, that'll give you a clue a little bit. German. She was a grump. I mean, she just really nice person, but she was always old. I mean, when you think of your grandparents, I don't know about you, but mine were always old. I mean, I bet they were 40 years old, and they looked old. They smelled old. They were old. Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe that was the age, but. And she lived with us, which wasn't much fun for her or for us, you know. And I still remember, I don't know why I'm telling you all this, but I'm glad this is not taped anyway, you know. But she would complain. I remember coming home from school and, "Hi, Grandma," and she said, "What's so good about it?" And it's too cold in here, too warm in here, or get me this, or get me, or be quiet, or whatever. Just drives us nuts, you know. And we weren't very nice to her either, I'd have to say. But one time I just lost it. I remember, and she said something like, "Richie," she'd call me Richie. I didn't like that. You know, she said, "Richie, you know why? I'm just tired of living. Why doesn't the Lord take me to heaven?" And I kind of lost it, and I shouldn't have said this to the grandson, but I looked at Grandma and said, "You know, the way you are, I don't think he wants you up there." You know? And then, so I was out of her will, you know, and so, but anyway, hi, come on in, good to see you. Nice outfit, I like that. Yeah. Do you have a friend who's freezing right now? Yeah.
I'm freezing.
It is cold in here, huh? Yeah, but, so anyway, the theme is, again, celebrating God's gift of aging, and I'm not trying to convince you. That doesn't help me. I don't need people to try to convince me to do something. But the bottom line is what, I'll say it now so that I don't forget it by the time it's 3 o'clock, and that is what we're talking about here is not something that we got to do, but it's something that we get to do. You see, I don't want to lay guilt on anybody of saying, you know, lighten up. You know, when I hear the word lighten up, that's not a command, that's an affirmation. Three topics we'd like to talk about. I'd like to talk about a little bit too. I don't know about you, but first thing I'd like to suggest is, and God said, lighten up. Now you might be saying, well, where does he say that? Well, do you have any hints in the scripture? Do you hear God ever saying lighten up a little bit in the scripture?
And then there was light.
Well, that's good. Hey, that's good. I like that. Yeah, right, in Genesis, right away. And God created light, right? And that was a gift. Well, that's a hint. Lighten up. Well, then you look in the New Testament, too, and Jesus walks around and he says stuff like, "I am the light of the world." I mean, golly, if he says that, and if he lives in us, golly, then we become light to other people. That's why, again, I'm not trying to convince you of this, but we can lighten up because we take God very seriously. And if we take God very seriously and what he's done to us and for us and with us in Jesus, death and resurrection, that allows us to lighten up. So it's not a matter, I don't want you to kind of feel guilty about lighten up. I spoke somewhere, I preached someplace a long time ago. Usually when I speak at a church, I never get invited back. I can understand that. But it was a stewardship weekend, and I made the comment of saying, you know, scriptures talk about the Lord loves a cheerful giver. But then I also mentioned, you know, guess what? He also likes us grouchy people. You know, and they didn't like that because that doesn't bring the money in, maybe, you know. But so the point is, yeah, that we don't cheer up so that the Lord loves us. We know the Lord loves us so much that we can cheer up. And so we're not talking about everybody being humorous or knowing how to tell jokes. We're talking about the joy that is a gift that God has given to us. Now, I'm sensing you already know that, but if you're like I am, I forget that. I mean, maybe I remember it here, but sometimes in terms of how I react with people, I forget that. So I think workshops like this help me and hopefully help you to talk about, well, we need to celebrate and help other people see why we're celebrating. Well, I'm the aha person. One of my little jobs as a consultant is that I'm the ambassador of health, hope, and aging for Lutheran Life Communities. Vicki Tracy was down here, so I'm the aha person. I mean, so people, I wear this and people say, aha, you know, and sometimes I forget I have it on. I was at a St. Arbuck's. I love to go to St. Arbuck's, by the way, and I always say St. Arbuck's because then people think it's, you know, a little more spiritual that way, you know, but a couple of months ago I went in and I had my button on and I ordered my tall of the day, and the barrister looked at me and said, aha. And I had no idea what she was talking about. I didn't know this was on. And I said, pardon me? You know, and she says, aha. Well, that was helpful. I mean, I don't just wear this so that people think, oh, gee, this guy's always happy. But I kind of wear this to remind me of even when I'm not feeling so good, even when I'm on my uh-ohs, there's always the ahas. So the other good news is that I'm not the only aha person around. We all are. Whether you look like it or act like it or feel like it, we're all ha-ha people. Do you agree with that? I mean, yeah. I mean, even if when we're stuck on our uh-ohs. So, aha. Anybody want this? Hey, there you go. Uh-huh. They're $5.
A lot of conversations.
But yeah. If we're going to talk about aha, well, let's just try you out. You look like a friendly group with one or two exceptions. That's all right. But what are some? Have you had an aha experience recently? I mean, just what's something that maybe you didn't shout out aha, but maybe it was kind of a joyful, a good news, or something that happened to you. What recently? What? Yeah.
Had an opportunity to reestablish a relationship with a cousin I hadn't seen for 5 years.
Wow.
And it
wow.
was with my mother, who was her sister, who is deceased. And my mom was 96, and so we all had a chance to get together and
wow.
those experiences.
That's good. Aha, huh? Aha experience. Wonderful. That's good. Somebody else. What? Another, yeah.
We visited the Social Security office last week.
Oh my. And that's, yeah, tell me more, yeah.
And the gentleman who took care of us was the most pleasant, surprisingly pleasant person we've ever, I mean, I called him later just to thank him for his time.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
It was wonderful.
They fired him.
That's wonderful. Aha, huh? Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's great that you follow through on that too. I mean, right? I mean, it's so easy to, boy, that was nice and forget about it. But I'm sure you were an aha person the other way. That's good, yeah. Yeah.
I have one too. Which I really found unbelievable. I called Medicare and got a hold of a lady that was so helpful,
Wow.
so nice, and actually solved the problem.
Really?
I mean, it was just
Surprise, precisely, yeah.
That is it.
Gee whiz, that's 2 out of 2 here. I mean, anybody have a uh-oh experience about that? You know, I mean, yeah. Often my experience on phone sometimes are uh-oh experiences more, right? Or even visits, right? I mean, hey, this.
Actually, that's what led up to the visit. Was the uh-ohs.
Is that right? Yeah.
So I said, I need an appointment.
Go see it face to face. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
The other day I picked up some medication, it was $111. I go, oh no.
Or something like that.
I
Yeah.
called my provider,
Yeah.
insurance company. They said, you're in a donut hole. As soon as you get out of the donut hole, it'll be $7. So it was from $7 to $111.
$111. Did you say?
It's an oofta.
The oopta, yeah, that's right. Uh-oh, huh? Wow, isn't that something? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, aha, what I try to train myself to do is try to be sensitive to the aha moments or aha experiences. I was amazed, when was it, Webster Dictionary, remember them? And they just chose the term aha moment as a real term now that goes into the dictionary, you know.
Really?
Big deal, but I thought that was kind of neat because there's so many people hopefully saying aha, hey, aha moments. We as God's people, I mean, we live the aha moment, even in the midst of the uh-ohs. And I think it's fun to talk about aha moments. Anybody else want to mention another aha moment? Just, I said that in one group a long time ago, and I waited a little bit, and then I said, gee, you know, and then somebody got up and said, well, 42 years ago, I remember. And I said, uh-oh, you know, this is not good. But, well, we are aha people. I mean, no doubt about it. Not that I'm saying that to you, not that we feel, look, or act like it, but even when we don't feel, look, and act like it, we are. That's a given. Faith is a gift. And that's the whole idea about celebrating life. I think, again, we take ourselves so seriously. That's the first one. God says, lighten up. And secondly, I'd like to think that the Lord and other people say to us, laugh, but don't laugh at people, laugh with people. And the best way to do that is to laugh at yourself. Don't you think? Yeah, does God have a sense of humor? I mean, I sure hope so, huh? Otherwise we're in trouble, you know. But I love that. I don't know where I saw it. Somebody said, if you're not sure God has a sense of humor, first thing you should do when you get up in the morning is to look in the mirror. Well, he better have a sense of humor, you know. Yeah, but again, we're not saying laugh your troubles away. I've tried that. It doesn't work. Huh? The troubles are still there. If we're going to talk about aha moments, then we need to talk about uh-oh moments. Have some of you had a uh-oh moment that you want to even talk about? Sometimes they're a little tougher to talk about. Yeah.
Well, I just had one. I was in this class, the last class.
Yeah.
I got up and walked out to find room 212 and walked
That's funny. Oh, here I am. That's good. That is great.
where you are.
That is funny. Now you're saying it's uh-oh, you found it. You'd rather not, yeah. Hey, that was a uh-oh and a aha, yeah? That's cute. That is a good story. That is a good story, yeah. What about uh-oh moments? I think a little tougher maybe to talk about, huh? I mean, maybe not.
Well, I called my drug provider because they wouldn't cover a particular drug and got into a heated exchange, and that turned into a aha because the superior agreed with me.
Oh my, really? Interesting, yeah. So uh-ohs and ahas, yeah. You know, I think that's very theological too. I mean, really, the key is the uh-ohs. That's great. I say uh-ohs are kind of the Good Fridays, the stuff that really takes the energy out of us. And do you have days like that or things like that? A couple things. Maybe some of you know the name, but Tom and Jackie Zender, pastor. He's been a pastor a long time. She's in Orlando now. Pancreatic cancer, going under surgery. A Whipple thing, a Whipple approach. I don't know what that is. Boy, what wonderful.
Pancreas.
Pardon?
Total removal of the pancreas.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. And again, I mean, golly, you talk about, boy, uh-oh stuff. Mark Prowatsky, who's the executive director of the Milneck Foundation. Are you familiar with them in New York? They do deaf ministries, and I'm happy to be on their board. He just had a brain aneurysm, and you hear all those things, and you can tell those stories too. And boy, that can get you down, can it? I mean, golly. And then sometimes I worry about, you know, some part of my body hurting, but not that bad. And so the uh-oh moments push us to kind of say, yeah, that's sin, that's the issues, but then how can we help people deal with the aha-ness that's already there, the Easters that we live, we know how it all turns out. And so one way I think you do that, from my point of view, is that you look at life, through the cross and the resurrection. And I love Psalm 126, verse 3. Does anybody know that in German or anything? No. And Psalm 126, verse 3. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. just this, I like that because it's simple, and that's what we're talking about. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Say it with me. I just hear, the Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Again, the Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Well, Carl Lutze, I don't know if you know Carl. Anybody know that name? He's a Lutheran pastor of Valparaiso, Indiana. He is about 93, 4 years old. And he talks about I want to share this with you because I think this is kind of talking about joy. Our credentials. Luke 9:62. Jesus said to him, "No one who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God." And then Carl Lutze writes this: "When interviewing for a job, we would likely be expected to bring a resume listing our qualifications, experiences, competence. Scripture does not indicate that Jesus held job interviews with any of the men he took on to be one of his 12. Only the sketchiest of prior jobs got mentioned. Fisherman, tax collector, Jesus makes it clear, 'You haven't chosen me, I've chosen you.'" That's pretty good. When things are difficult and the days ahead are discouraging, we are urged to look ahead and see Jesus, our loving Lord, going before us, making the path for us, affording us sure-footedness in our stumbling, courage, and strength as we make our way through the valley of the shadow of death. We are cheered by his promise, "I will never leave you nor forsake you. You are mine." I mean, to me, that's so simple, but yet, for me, these are very important. There's a lot of great devotional books out. So if you're using something else, that's fine. But for me, I mean, these are just right to the point. We have a little prayer then, and then we have a little challenge or a call. This one says, "Call someone who is recently retired, asking what that person's plans are for the future." That might not be a bad idea, huh? So again, feel free to take these as well, and I think that's kind of what we're talking about. So, joyfully celebrating God's gift of aging. Do you buy the premise that aging is really God's gift?
Yes.
Okay. I hope so. I hope so. But I think society doesn't do us very much good about that. And maybe you see it if you're living in Florida, especially more than I do, but it's still, society is still telling us, I think, you need to get rid of those wrinkles and find the fountain of youth, whatever that is, and smell young and talk young and look young. And you know, sure, we need to take care of ourselves, but it seems to me that I think our culture in a lot of ways is denying aging. Now help me out here and teach me there too. You think so? Yeah. I mean, do you see that in the newspapers or in the...
It's been that way for so many years.
You think it's been that for... Yeah. And why do you think that is? I mean, really,
It's an infatuation, I think, that, and a lack of knowledge of what one can do as they get older, that they don't have to be decrepit and old and not moving, even though you may have to have wheels to help you.
Yeah, I don't know where we got that idea. It's ingrained, I think, yes.
And it's a cultural thing here in America, I think. We spend a lot of time in Japan where the older people are the wise people.
Yes.
We turn to them for guidance.
You know, that's right.
And I'm not sure we think of it that way here in America.
It's a good point. Our culture is that. I mean, yeah, and...
Ours is based around success.
Pardon?
Success. That's what we base everything. And generally that means money.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a good definition of success.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I still remember my mom was at a Lutheran home in Arlington Heights, Alzheimer's. I mean, it was an aha and oh story. But I remember, I vividly remember, I was visiting and a male nurse from the Philippines came in, and a nice fella, and my mom liked him a lot. And we were talking one day, and he was a very nice guy, but he said to me in as nice a way he can, he said, you know, in the Philippines, we take care of our parents. And I thought, hey, thanks for sharing that, you know. And his whole point was basically, you know, he worked there, you know, but he was saying, yeah, in the U.S. our culture says, well, the Lutheran home or the old folks home will take care of them. And I mean, that indicted me in a way of saying, my brother and I both said, you know, maybe it was best for my mom, but the whole idea, well, we take care of our parents. I do quite a bit of ministry in Bethlehem and Palestine. We say, you know, the Holy Land. When you think of the Holy Land, you either think of St. Louis or Chicago, but it's and there too, you know, we were visiting a couple months ago, and there were 19 people living in this little house. And what they do, and one of the sons just got married, and so he and his new bride, what did they do? They built another story on their house. And when I first went to Palestine, you've been to the Holy Land or Palestine, or, you know, it looked like most of the houses were unfinished because there was kind of no roof on it. It was just kind of flat, and then there was these things sticking out. Never could figure that out. Well, you know, I should think a little bit. A lot of the homes, they do that so that when kids marry, it's expected that they come back and they just build another story on their house. I mean, and so, you know, is that my way of living? I'm not sure. You know, I felt sorry for the new bride when, you know, 16 nieces and nephews were running all over the place, you know. But the whole point is, I think your point is good. Maybe it's a cultural thing about. So how do we deal with that? You know, and again, it's not this. And the other thing is that we sometimes deny it ourselves. I don't know. I don't like Hallmark cards all that well, because I just think they perpetuate the feeling that old is bad. When I turned 70, I think 70, whenever that was, I got a card. I remember I just get one card. I've got a lot of good friends. One card, and they charged me for it too. I had to pay for it, but it was a picture of an elephant on the cover, and you open it up, and it says, "Age is elephant." Now I chuckle a little bit. That was kind of clever, but then I thought, that attitude is not good. I wanted to say, elephant on the cover, age is very relevant. I mean, it's relevant for me. I'm living it, you know. And so if you kind of see, the point was, don't worry how old you are. You're going to be okay anyway. You know, it's like, sorry, you're in that state of mind. You know, Charlie Mueller, a senior, and I, we team up, and we're doing a conference that we call Living the Fossil Life. And now, how many of you like to be called fossils? I mean, but we're trying to get hey, they're fossil, you know, that's what they call, somebody said prune juice, that's fossil fuel. I mean, did you know that? But, no, I don't know where that came from, but sorry about that. Anyway, so what we're trying to do, we're trying to redefine the concept of fossil and the word old even. We kind of say old as in bold, not old as in mold or something like that, you know, and fossil. So fossil, F-O-S-S-I-L, we say, this is what it is. It's forgiven, older sinners and saints immersed in living. And so, I mean, we just have fun with that, because when people say fossil, and we say, yeah, you live the fossil life, because we're forgiven and forgiving older sinners and saints immersed in living. And I love pastors too, okay? So, but pastors say, you know, we have trouble here. All we have out there are the blue hair, white hair, no hair people, you know, and we got to get some younger people in here, you know. And I'd say, yeah, that's fine, but I like to say, tongue-in-cheek a little bit, you better have more blue hair, white hair, no hair people in your congregation, because, you know why? Because there's more of us. I mean, if your blue hair, white hair, no hair people are slowing down too, then you're not keeping up with the demographics. You know, I like to ask who, depending on what size your congregation is, who's involved or who's in charge, responsible for older adult ministry. And some larger churches, maybe some of yours, they bring in a youth worker or a family worker, and I'm all for that. But what about us older people? And do you feel left out in your congregation?
Everybody.
Huh? Everybody's.
The average age of our congregation is deceased.
That's a good quote. That's great. That's great. Is deceased? No,
It's not true.
Seems kind of final there, doesn't it? I like that. That's good. So I mean, how do you deal? Do you have? And then the other thing, I love groups too. Just like youth ministry. Remember when we were young? I mean, it was kind of fun. Remember the good old days?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think there were good old days, but there were also a lot of bad old days too, weren't there? But I tend to maybe not want to think about that. And so somebody once said it's hard to be nostalgic if you can't remember anything, you know. So the good old days are there, but youth group, you know, everybody had, all young people need to be in youth group, and I never understood that because, you know, everybody doesn't want to be in group. So some congregations deal with older adults saying, let's let them get together, you know, and we have a group at our church called the Joy Group. And that's fine, and they get together. But the problem is that's diminishing because there were 80 of them coming 5 years ago, and now there's 70 of them coming, and 60. They're not transferring to the church triumphant. They're dying, and the 55-year-olds, that's not the group for them. And so I think we need to be more open and more creative, I think, in terms of how do we do that, and always doing that not to blame anybody, but always to celebrate it. A small thing like we're doing here, I think, with the Ammerman Center. Just how do we get energy for people? And does that make sense? Yeah, I think that's kind of fun. Do you hear something?
Yeah.
I thought that was my stomach. What?
Pacemaker.
That means, yeah, okay, that's right. That's right. I think we're all right, huh? Yeah, there's no...
Oh, that's not fine.
It's going away. It's going away. That's it. Well, I write a little article for the Naples Health and Wellness magazine in Naples. That's probably where they have it. But each month, this last month, this ties in a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. We'll probably get letters about this. But we talk about the 4 W's of older adults, and we talk about wit, wisdom, wrinkles, and wows. And to me, that's kind of summarizing what we've been trying to do here too. Wit. I mean, you don't have to be a full wit. Hey, but wit. I'm convinced everybody does have a sense of humor. Oh, I was going to go back to that. Our daughter, remember, who doesn't like to be 50, she's a great teacher, and she 4th grade, I think, and she has nothing new, but she has a joke a day that a kid brings in, and I mean, that's silly in a way, but that's an attitudinal thing, I think. Dr. Rubin, who I'd like him to be my family doctor, where he talks about too, the whole idea about seeing life as an attitude of gratitude. But they have a joke of the day, and so the good one she usually tells me, but the joke du jour last week was, what is green and smells like red paint? And the answer is green paint. That's so ridiculous, it's so ridiculous, and that's coming from kids, And by the way, did I bring that to you? Oh, let's see, where is this? I get so involved in this stuff. Oh, I got to show you this too. This is about the little kid. Do any of you have grandkids or great grandkids, or? And some of you had kids, and yeah, that's good. This is the little kid here. He says this. Our teacher asked what my favorite animal was, and I said, fried chicken. She said I wasn't funny, but she couldn't have been right because everyone else was laughing. My parents told me to always tell the truth. I did. Fried chicken is my favorite animal. So I told my dad what happened, and he said my teacher was probably one of those people that really loved all animals. He said they love animals just so very much. I do too, especially chicken, pork, and beef. Anyway, my teacher sent me to the principal's office. I told him what happened, and he laughed too. Then he told me not to do it again. The next day in class, my teacher asked me what my favorite live animal was. I told her it was chicken. She asked me why, so I told her it was because you could make them into fried chicken. She sent me back to the principal's office. He laughed and told me not to do it again. I don't understand. My parents taught me to be honest, but my teacher doesn't like it when I am. Today, my teacher asked us to tell her what famous person we admired most. I told her Colonel Sanders. And then the kid says, guess where I am now? See that? I think the Lord really knows what He's doing. I mean, that I think too, as an aging adult, we all are, I mean, to see the beauty of kids and laughter, and it's not that they're always happy. I meet some sad kids too, but how He puts people of different ages together so we can kind of laugh and have fun. If there's anything, one of my mission statements is always trying to, every day, to play and to pray. Just keep it simple. Maybe as I live each day of my life, you pray and you play. That's not bad. I mean, you pray, you know who we are, and then you can play. And it doesn't just mean don't worry about stuff, but we play in the midst of all this problems and pains and pressures, again, knowing how it all turns out. Whoever, and he says about our culture today, whoever tells the stories in our culture that owns the culture. Whoever tells the story owns the culture. His point is, David Walsh's name is, his point is, who's telling the story? And what's the story? Of Jesus and his love. I mean, whoever tells the stories, who's telling the story to our grandkids and kids too? I mean, my goodness, it's TV and movies and video game, and not that we should throw all that stuff out, but whoever's telling the story owns the culture. It used to be the church seemed a little stronger doing that, huh? But it's a multicultural type thing, and we deal with that. So again, as I was speaking away, at least he was doing something creative. He wrote another hymn to "We Love to Tell the Story." You know how that goes, right? We love to tell the story. Da, da. So this is what he wrote. He said, "We love to tell the story that Jesus is the way. It gives us all a reason to live another day. In every generation, each age, its story tells of how our God is faithful to people aging well." I mean, I think that's just marvelous, and so so it's in here sometimes, so you can take it and use that, because so that we celebrate that. I think as we grow older, we can reminisce, we can remember who we are and whose we are, and then we can really look at saying we need to learn to live well, age well, and die well.